Hey folks, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to continue to talk about blue-green deployments, but in this lesson and the next lesson, we'll be venturing into very familiar territory, working with auto-scaling groups and also launch configurations. And these techniques for blue-green deployments are pretty cool in that they're kind of roll-your-own patterns. We'll be using techniques, again, that we're very familiar with. And really, when we walk through this, we'll see that it's just some really common sense DevOps engineering. In the DevOps doctrine, let's go into swap and auto-scaling group behind Elastic Load Balancer. Now, for this pattern, let's say you either can't or you do not want to use Route 53 for your blue-green deployments. Well, we can still do our blue-green deployments falling back on some good old load balancing and auto-scaling. In this pattern, the load balancer is going to route your traffic, as it always does. Just remember the Route 53 is out of the picture. And what we're going to do is we're going to have two auto-scaling groups. And I've set some of this up just for visual purposes. Let's go into EC2. And let's go into load balancers. All right, so we have a load balancer. Let's go over to auto-scaling groups. We have a blue auto-scaling group. And that's just a name. I could have named it anything. So we have 3 instances currently in our blue auto-scaling group. Now, to do this type of deployment, you're going to have a second auto-scaling group. And again, I named it green auto-scaling group. Now, you would start with 0 instances. I have 1 in here already. And then you would scale up. Our blue auto-scaling group is our production auto-scaling group. So we want to do a blue-green deployment. We create our green auto-scaling group. Again, it's initially empty. When we want to deploy our new auto-scaling group, and let's just correlate this to actions in the management console, we can go to our auto-scaling group, we can click Edit, and we can just attach our green auto-scaling group to the existing load balancer. Then we would save that, and our green group is now attached to our load balancer. Now, for HTTP and HTTPS listeners, the load balancer is going to favor the green auto-scaling group because of a least outstanding request algorithm. So basically, it's going to start sending traffic to the green auto-scaling group. So again, Route 53 is out of the picture for whatever reason. Can't do it, don't want to do it, whatever. So we don't have weighted routing. So we won't have that fine-grained control, 80%, 20%, that type of weighted routing, but we can still, to an extent, control our traffic by the size of our green auto-scaling group. So when we want more traffic to our green auto-scaling group, we bump up the size. Now, another thing we can do as we scale up in the green auto-scaling group, we can take the instances in our blue auto-scaling group out of service, either by just terminating them, and we'd have to adjust our desired capacities just to make sure that it's not regenerating instances. Or we can place these instances in a standby state. Now let's think about that. Why would we want to put them in a standby state? Well, maybe we'll have to roll back. So if they're in a standby state and we have to roll back, that's going to save us some time. And time is always a factor in deployments. But let's say things go well, we don't need to roll back. So as soon as our green group is scaled up without issues, we can decommission the blue group by adjusting its size to 0. So our green group is scaled up to the capacity we want. We knock the blue group size down to 0, and we have successfully completed a blue-green deployment with auto-scaling groups. Now, here's a couple key points about this. Yes, Route 53 is out of the picture. We don't have that fine-grained traffic control, although we can still control traffic pretty well. But on the plus side, we already have a warm elastic load balancer, and actually, without the complexities of DNS, our traffic shift is actually quicker. So those are reasons you might actually decide just to go this way without Route 53 in the picture. So again, common use case for this pattern is if you can't or do not want to use Route 53. And really, this pattern will work for whatever size auto-scaling groups you are using. So with that, we have completed this lesson. Go ahead and mark it complete, and let's move on to the next.